This is our webinar number 26, and we're going to talk about driving and whether you are no longer driving or you shouldn't be driving, and if you still you'd like to know about some options that are available for you if you no longer wish to drive. So our panelists for today will first be hearing from Jill Kelly, who's an occupational therapist and owner of Driving with Confidence. Next will be Colleen Samuels, who's the executive director of Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council. Teresa Rinker is the manager of market development communications at RTD, and Gretchen Vittiger is a paratransit eligibility coordinator and accessoride for RTD. And they all have a lot to share with you about what's available. So a little bit about age-wise, and then we'll get right into it. We are working to become the premier nonprofit information and vetted service provider for aging Coloradans and all current and future caregivers as well. And as it says here, we're free to use, but not free to provide. Next is, this is a slide I like to show people because most of the time when I show this to folks, it's like, I didn't know that. So the fact is that last year, the 60 and over demographic in the state of Colorado crossed over the kids who are grade school and high school age. So, and as you can see here from this blue line, it's going to continue to go up in the 60 and over, and the under 17 is going to continue to decline. And then we have the next group, which is 45 to 59, you know, a little bit of a dip right here, but then they'll start going up. So this is what it looks like to be a resident of Colorado today and into the next couple of decades. We are the second fastest aging state in the country, and that's based on 2010 to 19 census of 65 and older population. And as you can see here, we have more dark purple, which is that 60% and higher growth rate than other states. And so who do we serve? Well, we serve aging Coloradans, caregivers and adult children of aging Coloradans, employers who have employees who are in that age group, and of course our vetted service providers and any organization committed to healthy aging Coloradans. And as you can see here, this is the adult children area right here, roughly age 40 to 60, 65, and then the folks who are over age 60 on this side. And combined, that's 3 million, almost 3 million people here in the state of Colorado, which is 3/5 of our population. So this is a screenshot from our website. It shows all the different resources that are available. And you know, if you go to our website, you click on any one of these, and you'll get a drop down of subcategories. And then our webinars, as you can see here, we have we've done a couple already, and we have this one today. And then we have one coming up on March 9 on aging brain and brain health. And then some discussion about some conversations that often need to be had with older loved ones, particularly around what to do with in this particular case. And then this is the same schedule of the webinars in Spanish. So all of this entire presentation today is being recorded, as you probably noticed. And then we will get this put up on our website in the next few days afterwards. So if you missed part of it, or there's some part that you really want to see over again, you'll be able to do that. I'm going to introduce our first panelist, and that is Jill Kelly. Jill Kelly is a board-certified occupational therapist and owner of Drive with Confidence. She's worked in home health since 2000 with a focus on geriatric clients. In 2017, she opened Drive with Confidence, a driver assessment business specializing in older drivers with neurological disorders. She became a certified driver rehab specialist in 2020. Jill is a Colorado native and completed all her schooling within the state. She's married, has 3 children, all girls, loves the beach. Unfortunately, we don't have much beach here.
We don't.
Animals of all kinds, music, and cooking.
Good morning to everybody. I wish I could see who my audience was, but I know there'll be lots of questions. There always are, because this is generally a new, it's kind of a new vocation that people don't know about very well. I am a certified rehab driver specialist, and I'm going to guess that most people have not heard about that. So I'm going to try to tell you a little bit, give you some information about what I do, what the state of Colorado requires, and just let you know that there's an option out there to help families make some of those very difficult driving decisions. All right, as Bob said, I'm an occupational therapist with extensive training in driving. I assess a driver's safety and knowledge in my own vehicle that has an instructor brake. I have special mirrors so I can see what's going on. I have equipment in my vehicle to teach hand controls. I have a left foot accelerator for people with amputations, for people that don't have a right foot. I provide input to your medical provider and make recommendations regarding the driving. And there's a lot of doctors that don't know that this is out there as well. So you guys feel free to pass the information along. The doctors that do know about it are generally neurologists. And I do also help provide the documentation needed to ensure that you as a driver are following the Colorado DMV rules. If you go home with nothing more today, I want everybody to understand that Colorado is a self-report state. Each state does things differently. And what that means is that legally, you should be telling the state of Colorado through the DMV about any medical diagnosis you have that could affect your driving ability. The list that the DMV has printed, I mean, it can be dementia, mild cognitive impairment, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, sleep apnea, Parkinson's. It's a lot. There's a lot of diagnoses. And as a general rule, most people don't know that they should be reporting this to the DMV. So I'll explain things a little bit further, but by documenting your medical concerns with the state, you put yourself on level ground liability-wise with all the other drivers out there. So it's a good thing. I know most people don't want to tell the government any more than they want. This is the opposite. You want to document anything you can with the DMV to let them know. So if anything happens, you have done exactly what you're supposed to do. How do we know that Colorado is a self-report state? Most don't. When you go into the DMV, they ask you a very simple question that says, do you have any medical diagnosis that could affect your driving? And if you say no, the conversation's over. Even if you walk in, I mean, even if you're in a wheelchair, anything like that. So in other states, like in Arizona and Florida, the DMV record is overlapping with your medical record. So if you apply for anything at the DMV, they can see your medical history. So in the state of Colorado, we don't allow that overlap, but in place of that overlap, as a driver, you have an obligation. Same thing when you renew your license. Sometimes it's a question that shows up, but not everybody has it, but you are still obligated when you renew online. This is an obligation that you should follow through, whether you renew online or whether you renew in person. And one other thing, and this is brand new, anybody over 80 that is trying to renew their driver's license now has to have a vision test. And that is a vision test that comes from your own personal optometrist. And we can talk about that later, but that's kind of a new one, but I think that one's more than appropriate. There are 3 things that you can do in the state of Colorado to prove to the state that you are safe to drive. There's clinical assessments. I can do that. Anybody in an occupational therapist can do these. Sometimes a PT and a speech therapist can do them as well. Behind the wheel assessment is one thing. And then there's a DMV form that your doctor fills out that helps to document any diagnoses. I can't tell anyone that they're not going to get in an accident, but I can document with the state that you have the skills and abilities to be a safe driver when I assessed you. And that's as good as it gets. I'm kind of like the weather person. I don't have to be exact, but I do my best. There's clinical assessments, kind of pre-driving assessments. And here's just a list. This is not all of them. And if somebody had an amputation or something different, I would, of course, accommodate for that in whatever way I needed to. But as a general rule, we look at acuity, and it's called the useful field of view. It looks at both peripheral and central vision. It will give you a crash risk rating when you finish it. I look at right-of-way knowledge, review of medical history and medications. I look at roadside knowledge, both family and driver concerns, cognition, physical function, reaction time, and driving history. If you pass these and I feel that you are appropriate to get on the road and drive, then we will get on the road and drive. All right, so behind the wheel assessment happens in my car because I have some things to keep us safe. I am looking at basic vehicle operation, visual assimilation. Can you take in everything that you need to visually? Your judgment when you're on the road, your ability to anticipate other drivers, which is huge. Adherence to rules of the road, your emotional regulation, insight to what you might be doing wrong that could affect other people, distractibility, and your pathfinding abilities. Can you get to some familiar spaces and places? Just as an FYI, you guys, if you do a test drive with the DMV, they're basically looking at basic vehicle operation. Can you operate the vehicle? And they usually test with you for about 15 minutes. I drive between 45 minutes and an hour, sometimes more than that. If you have someone in your life, if you are this person that's concerned about your driving, bring in a professional. I will help your medical provider make the best and safest decision. I will decrease the family's burden regarding driving. We all know this is an emotionally charged topic, right? And if I can help alleviate just some of the strain in the family, and I usually just my objectivity can make a big difference. You will be able to obtain an objective assessment to help make you work with what could possibly be a life-changing decision. And I'm so excited that we have somebody here today that's going to talk about transportation options if you do retire from driving. Also, what I do can give you a functional baseline to help make decisions in the future. You know, if you see that you've declined a little bit and we test everything, we could test everything in a year and compare, right, them then to now, those kind of things. So call a driver rehab specialist to help you make these decisions. So my company is Drive with Confidence. My goal today is not to point you in my direction, but to let everybody out there know that there are folks like me that are out there. There's not very many of us. I am the only one. I come to people's homes because I think that allows for better results. And where do you drive every morning when you drive? You drive from home, right? As I just think it's a challenge if they put you in a different part of town and make you drive around. There's too much new going on. So that's my story. I'm hoping that you have some questions. There's so much more to talk about, but I needed to be short and succinct today. So I hope that gives you guys a little teaser of what is out there in the driving world to help make decisions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that presentation. I think we had one question in the chat that maybe we can answer now.
Okay. If you,
And that is, my 61-year-old husband is required to get a vision test. I wonder why. Do you have any idea?
the state of Colorado has two things that they're very particular about. One of them is seizures. If you have seizures, you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to drive. And they also have a requirement for acuity of 20/40 and a visual field requirement. You have to be able to see from side to side. I will tell you just very quickly, if you look on the DMV website, what they're asking of you is form 2402. And it's a very simple form for an optometrist to fill out. I'm hoping that helps. And if you need more information, you're welcome to call me directly.
And one more question, then we'll move on. There's someone that has a 90-year-old mother who refuses to get an assessment. What, do you have any suggestions?
Well, the doctor, you need a doctor. I have to work under a doctor's order, so I need a prescription. But the doctor can say, if they have concerns, the doctor can say, you either take this assessment with Jill and we see what the results are, or I will just write that we are going to revoke your license right now. And a doctor has the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you. And we have another more general question about Spanish.
Barb has a good point. You must have a valid permit or a license of some kind in order to drive with me. I cannot drive with you unless you are legal in the state of Colorado to drive. Okay. Thank you, Barb.
All right, thanks, Jill.
Yep.
Okay, our next speaker is Colleen Samuels. There's Colleen. Colleen is the Executive Director for the Regional Mobility and Access Council, Dr. Mack. She brings more than 20 years of business operations and leadership experience to the organization, as worked in both the not-for-profit and for-profit sectors. Colleen's passion is working to help remove barriers experienced by disadvantaged and underserved families. Transportation is one of those barriers. It's a big barrier. She holds a Bachelor of Business Management degree and is enthusiastic about being part of the Dr. Mack team and carrying out the mission of mobility for all. So Colleen, please go ahead. Tell us
Thank you, Bob, and hello, everyone. Do you want me to drive, or are you going to do the slides as well?
It's entirely up to you. What would you like?
I guess I can figure this out. I can drive. Let's see if I can maybe share my screen.
You can. Yeah, you
okay.
can.
Okay, so again, hi, I am Colleen Samuels, and I'm the Executive Director for Denver Regional Mobility and Access Council, better known as Dr. Mack, and I'm hoping today we'll be able to provide you all with some options for you and or your family if you're no longer driving. Dr. Mack's mission is to promote mobility and access for all by addressing transit needs through public outreach and by coordinating the efforts of government agencies and transit providers. So who is Dr. Mack? Dr. Mack is a nonprofit organization founded in 2005 with a vision of mobility and access for all. We're also the Regional Transportation Coordinating Council for the 9 Denver metro counties. We are a membership organization, and we serve the community through mobility management by coordination, education, and information sharing. So I'm going to give a brief overview of some of the tools that we provide, and they would be the Getting There Guide, our Information and Assistance Call Center line, better known as the INA line, our Getting There Paratransit app, and then our Getting There travel training program. So this is what our paper copy of the Getting There Guide looks like. The Getting There Guide is Dr. Mack's longest ongoing project, and we are currently reviewing and editing and producing our 14th edition. It is a free resource with over 40 travel provider options. It's available in various formats and languages, and I have those listed here. I won't read them all for you, but it's available on the Dr. Mack website where you can download and print. And you can also request copies be mailed to you by calling our INA line at 303-243-3113 or emailing us at info@drmac-co.org. And I can also put that in the chat afterwards. If you go to our website, you'll also find a list of transportation options, if that's a better resource or better option for you. And here are the counties that we serve: Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Broomfield, Clear Creek, Denver, Douglas, Gilpin, and Jefferson counties. So the INA line. When you call the INA line, it gives you access to a live transportation resource specialist Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. This is not an emergency service, so if we miss your call, we will return your call within 24 hours. It's individual consultation to provide information about appropriate transportation options. Translation and Colorado State Relay services are also available. So this is just an example of kind of what it would look like if you called into the INA line. We can help callers determine accessoride service availability and where to find the application online. We help to coach callers to think about alternative services like grocery delivery or home medical visits, because we know transportation can really be a barrier sometimes. We serve as an advocate for callers to help resolve issues with transportation providers. We help callers estimate cost of cab or rideshare trips. And now, more recently, we've been able to assist with RTD tickets and some Lyft codes. So our Getting There Paratransit app looks like this. And Dr. Mac's Getting There app has made information more accessible than ever before by releasing an app version of the Getting There guide for smartphones in 2022. This app is the first of its kind focusing on paratransit. It includes information about paratransit, public transportation, volunteer-based driving services, and private options. And it will filter the information based on the user's needs. We know that some of us can be a little uncomfortable with technology, so Dr. Mac will also provide a free demo or training on using the app, and it is free and very easy to use. This is just a little bit of stats. There are over 1,150 downloads and 8,200 impressions since the initiation or the beginning of the app. We more recently started to include information on food and housing assistance, and we're still collaborating with community resources to keep expanding the app. So where can you find the app? It's available on the Apple or Google Play stores, and you just would go to your app store, search for Getting There, and look for this little icon, click Get or Install, and then return to the home screen and tap the Getting There app icon to open the app. And again, we will provide a demo or assistance if you need help learning how to use the app. Or if you'd rather search for the guide and use the guide online, you can go to www.gettingthereguide.com and just enter that address, into your browser. And if you go access this way, the information can be translated into other languages. So that may be a better option for people who are not English as first language speakers. The Getting There travel training. We hope that after you take this training, you will feel more comfortable using alternative modes of transportation. In our trainings, we learn about RTD buses and trains, where and how to purchase RTD tickets, planning a trip, reading a schedule, Lyft and Uber rideshare services, paratransit options, Dr. Mac resources, bike safety, and so much more. So there are 4 free training sessions, and they are available via Zoom or in person to help you feel more comfortable when you're no longer driving and you need alternative transportation. Trainings are offered in Spanish, And these are the courses. They can be taken in any order. At the end, or I think we're offering this quarterly, but there's an option to participate in a free, we call it in the field, hands-on trip where we take you out and you can actually practice the skills that you've learned in real time. How do you sign up for the trainings? If you want to attend the virtual trainings, you would just visit our website at www.drmac-co.org, click here to learn to ride, and it's at the top of the homepage. Select the dates and register via Eventbrite, and then you'll receive an email confirmation. If you prefer an in-person training, this is the email address, and again, I can put it in the chat. And the Dr. Mac staff will work with you to schedule the most convenient dates or times for you and or your organization. And that was short and sweet, pretty much all I have. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions.
Our next speaker is Teresa Rinker. Teresa is responsible for overseeing the various past programs that RTD offers. She's been with RTD for more than 23 years and has led various initiatives to help develop and grow programs like the RTD Eco Pass, the Neighborhood Eco Pass, College Pass, and other discounts for RTD customers, including, I assume, older adult customers. In her free time, Teresa travels both in the US and abroad and is an avid proponent of transit, using public transit in other cities and I guess countries as well, to learn how to make RTD's system better for customers. She grew up in the heart of the Silicon Valley in San Jose and learned how valuable transportation is at a young age. She's happily called Colorado home for the last 36 years, attending classes at Metro State University and expanding her fiction writing through classes at the Lighthouse. So, Teresa.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you. I'm glad you're all in attendance today. Do you want me to drive the screen or would you like to, Bob?
No, you go right ahead, as long as you're comfortable.
All right, let's give her a try here. My computer's slow today. There we go. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So my presentation today is about the various discounts that RTD provides for transit. We've learned that a lot of our customers aren't even aware of what our discounts are, so we'll cover some of them today. So we'll go through what our LIVE program is, how to apply, what other discounts are available, and what is proof of eligibility. So our LIVE program, this is an income-based program, and it's open to customers that are between the ages of 20 and 64 that are at or below the 185% federal poverty level. And it does provide a 40% discount. And some things to note, we're in the middle of a system-wide fare study and equity analysis, and some of the recommendations that are coming forward are to increase that 185% up to 250%, and to increase this discount up to 50% from 40. We also have a requirement now where our customers must live in our district in order to qualify. We're looking at expanding that to customers outside of our district. And then it's open, as I said, to 20 and 64-year-olds, because if you're 19 and under, you're eligible for a 70% discount. And if you're 65 and over, currently you're eligible for a 50% discount. Oops, there we go. And so how do you apply for this LIVE program? So we've partnered with the state of Colorado, and the application process is through the Colorado Peak website. So if you're a customer already receiving benefits such as Medicaid or SNAP, you're already categorically eligible, and the approval process is fairly quick. However, if you are not receiving any benefits, when you go into the site, you can apply just for the LIVE discount, or you can also apply for other benefits as well. It does take a little longer for that approval process, and it's all done through Denver Human Services. We do have a partnership with them as well. And so what DHS does is they do the approval process. They help with application. They have an outreach coordinator, and they do cover all of the counties. It's not just Denver that they cover. And so if you're struggling with the application process, you can call Denver Human Services directly, and they will assist you with the whole process. They have an outreach coordinator, and the coordinators go out and do quite a bit of work out in the field. So for example, they just recently went out to all of the emergency shelters and helped immigrants apply for the LIVE program. And we did see an uptick in the application process when they were out there doing the help. So you can apply for yourself and other household members. We do not require a social security number. It is optional. You do need to upload a photo for each applicant applying. And then once the application is approved, you will receive a LIVE proof of eligibility identity card. It usually takes 7 to 14 business days for that to arrive. Here on the right is an example of this LIVE discount proof of eligibility card. It's personalized with your name and your photo. And some of the various fair products that are available. And I didn't go into detail about how to do all of this like Colleen did with her demonstration, but as you see, Dr. Mack can definitely help customers work through all of this because we do have a variety of products available. So we have this My Ride card here. This allows a customer to have stored value in their account. And then each time you tap that on the validator prior to writing, it deducts the correct cash fare. And so if you're eligible for LIVE, you would do an entitlement on either our mobile app or our web portal, and this would allow the correct deduction of fares. Instead of full fare, it would recognize the 40% discount. We also have mobile tickets available. So we have 3-hour passes, 10 rides, day passes. And then we have 10-ride ticket books, which are available at RTD sales outlets, online, or any of the select Kings or Safeways. And so moving on, customers that are 65 and older and individuals with disabilities are eligible for a 50% discount. Proof of eligibility is required when using all of our discounted products. So we already mentioned the LIVE eligibility ID card. And so for seniors, they can present a photo ID showing age, a Medicare card, or an RTD special discount card. And then individuals with disabilities that are not offered Access-a-Ride, which is the next presentation coming up, they can present a Medicare card or an RTD special discount card. So how does one apply for the special discount card? Well, you see a little sample of the card here on the side. A lot of our customers fondly call it our pink card because it is pink. It is also personalized with your photo and your name. But basically you visit our website, which is up here. We have 3 types of applications. We have an application for youth, for seniors 65 and over, and individuals with disabilities. Once that application is completed, you can email it to the designated email address that we have, or you can mail it to our Blake Street offices. All of that information, where to mail it, is also on our website. We do require a form of ID to verify that it's you. So that could be a state issued ID, a military ID. We accept a variety of different IDs. And then you must include a photo of yourself so that we can personalize your card. Again, we do not require a social security number for application. And we also have staff available to assist. So as Colleen alluded to, sometimes we have challenges with technology. We can certainly mail the application to someone's home. And we can also assist with the application process and any questions or concerns that our customers might have. And then similar to LIVE, we have 50% discounted products. Again, we have the My Ride card with the stored value. We have our regular mobile tickets. We have 10-ride tickets. And you'll notice here I've included monthly pass. So currently, monthly pass is not available to our LIVE customers. It's another recommendation as part of our fare study to go ahead and include a monthly pass. However, if you're doing the stored value, you also are eligible to do fare capping, which ensures that our customers never pay more than they have to. So for example, if you are taking several trips within a day, you'll be capped out at the day pass price. And then you have the advantage of fare capping up to a monthly price. If you're a frequent rider, it will cap you and you won't pay more than the monthly pass price either. So that was my short and sweet demonstration of the various discounts that we have. Any questions?
Teresa, I had a couple questions. One is languages. So when I look at the website, it's not apparent to me that it's available in other languages.
Are you
Is it-
talking about the discount page?
or just the RTD? The
Yeah,
opening?
we do have Google Translate on our website in general. We
Okay.
also have a mechanism for customers to request different things in different languages. And I know for us, we're in the process of our special discount applications of translating those into Spanish as well. I could find out where that is on our website, but we do have Google Translate and we do have a place where customers can request items in different languages from us.
No, okay. And let's see, I have another question.
I can answer the question about where the language translation is.
Ah,
if you
great,
would like.
thanks. Thank you.
At the very bottom of the website, I think it's on the left-hand side, it will say translate this page into any of the following languages. And once you select that, everything that's there that is not a PDF version of a document will be translated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So another question. This is probably going to come up in Gretchen's, but this is more of a general question, I guess. That is door-to-door transportation as opposed to curb to curb transportation. So I know Gretchen will be talking about that, but is there anything you would add to that, Teresa or Colleen?
Well, yeah, I think Gretchen's going to cover the curb to curb services. And the one thing other that I forgot to mention as part of this fare study with the LIVE program in general is we are looking at expanding that discount to be available on Access-a-Ride. And so when when her demo comes up, she'll talk about Access-a-Ride in more detail. So all of the discounts and whatnot that I spoke about are for our regular fixed routes.
Okay. And when people apply for those discount cards, I mean, what's the proof of residence or ID, what's required in order for them to do that in terms of verification?
I think I saw a question in the chat, but as far as LIVE goes, the current system is set up that you have to live in district. And then when a person is applying through the Peak site, they do put in an address and it verifies whether it's in the RTD district or not. And also I should note too with LIVE, if somebody is experiencing homelessness at the time, they can use an agency's address. Denver Human Services, a lot of people will use that address. As far as special discount goes, we don't have that same sort of verification. They don't have to live in our district to be eligible for those discounts. The senior and the individuals with disabilities 50% discount is actually a federal mandate that we must provide that discount. And so you don't have to live in our district to be eligible.
Okay. And then one other question, will the LIVE program change after the fare change?
Yes. So we have a full web page on our website about the fare study in general and all the recommendations. There was a board packet that was sent to our board a couple of weeks ago. So there are a lot of recommendations in there. So specific to LIVE, the one of the recommendations is to change that discount from 40% to 50%. Then it'll be based on our new fare structure. And some of those new recommendations are to go to a flat fare with an airport premium. And then also for any of our discounts, they would be able to write anywhere in our system with that discount, including to the airport. So for example, if we went to a flat fare of $2.75 and the customers are receiving a 50% discount, that would apply throughout our whole district. So anything they're writing, trains, buses, airport, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
And we're also looking at lowering our monthly pass cost as well.
very good. Thank you. Thanks
Mhm.
very much. Okay, I'm going to now introduce Gretchen. So Gretchen Vedegar is the, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, is the paratransit eligibility program coordinator for RTD's Accessoride service. She has 30 years of experience as an occupational therapist, working with individuals with neurologic disabilities and adults seeking to age in place. This experience informs her work with those seeking independent community mobility. She works closely with the eligibility contractor MTM, and she'll talk more about what that is, and contracted on-demand transportation providers to meet the needs of Accessoride customers. So Gretchen, tell us more about your program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. What we're talking about today is Accessoride, and it's subsidized access on demand program. You can go ahead and next page. So the Accessoride is a complementary paratransit program. So transit agencies that receive federal funding are required to provide complementary paratransit. It is shared ride service, and it is meant to serve those individuals with disabilities that are unable to use the regular bus system for some or all of their trips. Like a bus, it makes multiple stops on its way to and from your location. Eligibility for paratransit is not necessarily based on the presence of a disability, but the impact that that disability has on one's ability to use the bus. And some of the features of paratransit are that you must, the service is provided within corridors 3/4 of a mile wide on either side of a non-commuter fixed route bus. So with the expansion of housing and people moving further out, it makes it a little harder for them to access paratransit because that 3/4 of a mile doesn't necessarily always extend as far as the RTD service area does. So all of our service for paratransit is the same as that of the bus. So if a bus is providing service to your area, then paratransit will be there. If there is no bus service, like on a Sunday, the bus service changes, you will not have access to paratransit on that day. So it is meant to be a parallel system for the regular bus. Fares on paratransit and cannot exceed double the fare on a regular fixed route. So our fares are actually just under the current fare. Our rates are $5 for a local trip, $9 for a regional trip, and $20 for the airport, which I did not include. We do not place any restrictions on trip purpose, so you can travel anywhere you need to. A lot of people misperceive that we are medical transportation or that they can only go to the doctor for these trips. We want people to go anywhere they need to go using paratransit. And there is no limit on the number of trips that you can take either. So those are just some of the features. We have over 15,000 eligible customers, and we provide service through 4 operator contractors that drive our routes, 1 call center operator, and then 1 eligibility program contractor. Thank you. Next slide. So there is an eligibility process for Accessoride. Under the ADA law, eligibility is determined by one of 3 categories. The first category is individuals who, because of their disability, cannot navigate the system. So they're either unable to get themselves from place to place in any way without the help of another person, whether it's a cognitive disability, a physical disability, or a visual disability. The next category under which individuals might qualify would be those who cannot use the fixed route system because an accessible vehicle is not available. Fortunately for us, in Denver, all of our vehicles are accessible with kneeling buses and ramps and lifts. So this really is not a category that we use here in Denver. The last category, and this is the category that most of our individuals qualify under, is that they are prevented from traveling to or from the bus stop because of their disability. So it may be that there is a lack of a sidewalk, or there are some other conditions present that may prevent them from getting to the bus. Eligibility is not based on financial hardship. And the fares that we have, even though $5 a trip seems high, the cost of an accessoride trip is close to $70. So it is really quite a discounted fare. And then those that are six or older are able to certify for eligibility. So as part of our application process, there are essentially 3 components. The first component is a written application that is signed by the applicant or legal guardian. There is a medical verification form that's completed by a treating provider, preferably one who knows the disability under which you're qualifying for. And there's a wide list of providers that can complete this form. So it's not that we require everyone to go to their primary doctor. There are therapists that can fill out the form. There's a long list of people that are eligible to fill that form out. And then the final part, once we've received that application and that medical verification form, is that we contact you to schedule an in-person interview and assessment of your mobility skills. And we do provide transportation to that appointment. The purpose of this is to determine under what conditions a person qualifies or is eligible for service, and also to educate the individual applying what is available and what is, what the service entails. So it gives them a brief overview of those things. And those applications are available on our website, or you can call our administrative office to get a printed copy mailed to you. So once you've completed and submitted that application, it's usually 7 to 10 business days that we get back to you. We have a high volume of people applying, and so we then will contact you via an automated call to let you know that we're ready to see you. And we send your application to the assessment center, and you schedule an appointment that is convenient to you. And you can request that we provide transportation to that appointment when you schedule it. We can usually get people in within a week, and the appointments are available between 8:30 and 4 on Monday through Friday. Now, once you are eligible for Access-a-Ride, we do have a new Access on Demand service. And when I say new, it's recently expanded. This is not something that's required by the FTA to provide additional services, but our service requires in advance scheduling, and the Access on Demand service allows customers to complete same-day scheduling, or request a trip on demand, and that helps. And what we do to support that is to provide a subsidy for those on-demand providers. We pay the first $25 of Access on Demand trips and up to 60 trips per month once the customer is enrolled. So there is an opt-in process to all of those services, and that form is available to customers on our website. They complete their enrollment for the on-demand providers. We verify the information is correct. We upload information to those providers, and then we send an email, or the provider themselves reaches out to that customer to let them know. And we do RTD supports the on-demand service by providing wheelchair accessible vehicles and drivers for customers that are requesting Uber and eventually Lyft trips, and then we support our Metro taxi service. So the on-demand service, we do currently have trip service with Uber, and we've been doing that service for a little over 2 years in various phases. All those trips must be scheduled through the Uber app, and there must be a personal payment in the app to be able to schedule the trip. That's in case the scheduled trip exceeds the cost of the subsidy. Lyft is newly being added very soon to the program. All of the trips must also be scheduled through the Uber app, and there will be a personal payment added. We are still working with Lyft to get the wheelchair accessible vehicle service added to that program, but that'll take us a little while yet. Metro Taxi was previously our access a cab provider. They will be scheduling trips through the iRider app or through our call center. And we have added Z-Trip Taxi, which is also scheduled through the app or the call center. And the Z-Trip, while they're expanding into Denver at some point in the next year, they are mostly available in the northern part of our service area. So Longmont, Lafayette, Boulder, they're more widely available there.
So Gretchen, before we go on to the next one, a couple of questions, I think, but when somebody goes to Uber and they have to do this personal payment, how does that look to them? I mean, you have this $25 subsidy, but what do they see when they schedule that trip on Uber? Do they see that does it look like they're going to have to pay the whole thing, or does it show that $25 off?
So I'm going to speak to what will be coming, because in the next week we're going to be converting to a voucher program with Uber. Currently, the process is different, so I'll speak to what the future is, because that's what we'll be doing going forward. Once you've completed the enrollment form for the Access on Demand, and you want to enroll in Uber, we upload your information to Uber's profile in our Uber for Business platform. So when you are enrolled, Uber will then contact you via email or text. I'm not entirely sure which at the moment, but I believe it's text. And you'll get a text saying that you are now you've been provided with a voucher. And so every trip that you take where you choose to use the voucher, and it's a default for our customers at this point, then it will show what your payment is in the app. And right now it's strike through pricing. So you'll see what the payment was, and there'll be a line through it and it will say 0. This is the amount covered. I believe in the future it's going to show the amount, but if you've selected the proper payment and that's the default, then it will bill the trip accordingly. And what you will see, and what we often are coaching our customers through, is that they need to look at their receipts and the detail on the receipt, and it will show that RTD has paid likely all of that trip if it's a shorter trip. And we'll be, when you get that enrollment, we'll be also reaching out to our customers to let them know what they need to be looking for in the app. So we're communicating with all people that are newly enrolled to let them know what they need to look for.
And is the Uber, I'm just assuming that the Uber app is available in at least Spanish, maybe some other languages too. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
you can select your language, and Uber is international. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And then will Lyft work the same way then?
Lyft will work the same way. We will be having a voucher program with them. You'll be provided with 60 trips on either program. And those trips are going to default to the subsidy unless it's in excess of the $25. Yes.
Okay, now this says that for Lyft, all trips must be scheduled through Uber. Is that accurate?
Oh my goodness. No, it's through Lyft. I'm sorry. My poor editing.
Okay.
Yeah, through the Lyft app.
And then these taxi services, they'll work that way as well, with the voucher.
They will work with a voucher. The taxi services will allow you to pay in the vehicle also. So it could either go through the app, or if you've called the call center, you can put any remaining amount, if there is any, on your credit card within the vehicle.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And if people have problems using these things going forward, where do they call? Who do they call?
We have a dedicated access on demand line. And the access on demand line is, I can put that in the chat actually when we're finished. Yes, you do need to live in the RTD district to use access on demand. All the services are geo-fenced, so that if you're trying to take a trip outside of the RTD district, you will not be able to do that. It will tell you it's out of program. But you do not need to live in the ADA service area to use it. So for those customers that live outside of the ADA service area, they can use the on-demand services either to help them get into the service area or to use for their trips if they like.
And then this question is probably both for Gretchen and Teresa. What options are available for individuals with disabilities who live in Southeast Aurora? Is that part of RTD?
I'm assuming you're talking about beyond Southlands, if that's.
I don't know. This is from Lori Dean. Lori, can you answer that question?
It depends on how far you are. Yeah, the Southlands is about the last part of our ADA service area. And then if you're still within the RTD district, you can use the access on demand providers, including Wave. But if you're outside of the RTD district, I am not sure. I don't know if Colleen knows of any services out that far in that area or not. That's where I usually refer folks to the Getting There guide.
So this is Lori. Are you saying that if we were to like get my mom to Southlands to meet a ride there, if she qualified for the services for the, for the vouchers, that then she could take her, go do her, whatever thing, whatever she needs to do. And then she could get dropped back off at the Southlands area?
Yes. So yes, that's an excellent question. And, if you're too far outside for the RTD district, that's always an option. When people live outside the ADA service area, we are regularly working with them to find a location where they could get the paratransit vehicle. And that way they can schedule their trips to and from that location. And then, as long as there's someone to help them get home, then we, we'll provide service to there. So yes, that is the case.
So one last question. Would this also be part of like medical rides?
We do not work, no, we are public transportation. We are not medical transportation. If someone needs, it's not a requirement that's a medical trip, but we also don't provide supported medical transit. If someone needs special assistance when they're on our vehicle, then someone would, they would need a PCA to travel with them, and that would be approved.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like she's 76. She just got rid of her car because she can't see very well. She's deaf, and she just needs to continue to be able to have some of her independence. And she relies 100% on her family. And, she would just feel better if she were able to make some transportation, things on her own. And, her doctors are out at the, like, I'm gonna like and switch or that medical off of Colfax that's where all of her doctor appointments are. And so I just don't know how to get her there and also have her retain some of her independence and feel like she can do what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Let me interject here. I think it might be a good idea, Laurie, to connect with Colleen.
Okay.
And that,
Mhm.
because, she has access to transportation providers outside of RTD. So,
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Sure.
And then we had one other question here. And this might be for Teresa. It used to be that a caregiver could travel with a person for free. Is that still true?
That's a two-part. I believe it's yes with the Accessoride, and it's also yes if you have a special discount card.
Yes.
Okay.
If you need assistance when you're traveling, yes. That would need to be something that was noted in your Accessoride record. But that's something that can be done on request. Yes.
Now, in some cases, the term caregiver can be construed pretty loosely, possibly. So how, is there an age thing that goes along with being had to be the caregiver rider?
We don't put an age constraint on it. We would hope that the person that is accompanying is capable of providing the assistance needed. But that's not something that we ask our operators to decide for anyone. And there are people that definitely take those definitions pretty liberally. But I think most people that are needing assistance do generally bring appropriate caregivers with them.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, well,
And then we have a couple more pages if we can go forward. I just happen to. So
okay.
a couple of links here on our Accessoride page. We do have a customer guide. So if you have questions on any policies or any of the rules for Accessoride, that is available on our page. And then there's our access on demand pages there. And the next slide, I just want to mention our travel training services. So our eligibility contractor, MTM, is also contracted to provide travel training service for Accessoride customers and RT customers. We've actually worked in some instances with Colleen's group. If there are customers that are needing additional training or more specialized training, then her group can refer to MTM to kind of pick up where they left off and to give that more specialized training. Because where the Dr. Mack training is focused in groups, ours is focused more on individual training. So we will work with you to develop independence on a specific route that you might travel multiple times. We'll use multi-modes of transportation. If you do use Accessoride and want to be able to get to a specific stop to be able to perform your trips, they can do that. But they also will work with folks on developing independence for specific trips, which is a nice service.
That is a great service.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so that's the end of yours. Okay, very
Yes.
good. Okay. We had an earlier question, and this one was, I think, for Jill. Can a family member simply call the DMV, report dementia, and request a driving evaluation? Does a doctor need to be involved?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. If a family member can report But if they do, it's not anonymous. So that can be problematic in itself. But the DMV form does need to be completed by either a physician, a doctor of osteopath, a DO, or a physician's assistant. So they do have to pull in medical of some kind.
Okay, so if they just call the office, then they're gonna have to say who they are.
They are going to have to say who they are, and it's not anonymous.
Right.
The driver will know that their daughter Jill turned them in to be unsafe. And there's so many ins and outs. This is a really hard thing to talk about in a quick manner, but what would come out of that discussion at the very best would be a DMV eval. And the DMV bar is so low that they're not going to recognize in 15 minutes, they're not going to recognize somebody with dementia, mental fatigue, any of those kind of things. But what generally happens when family initiates things is it ends up being a DMV drive versus working with a certified driver rehab specialist.
Okay. I'm just looking through the chat here to see other questions. We have a comment here from Mile High Senior Eye Care about eye exams that are performed on site rather than having to go to an office, to the physician's office or the optometrist office. Okay, and then I want to make sure back to this last question just real quick that I have this right, because the person who asked this is not on the call anymore, so I need to send them a note.
Okay.
So the answer really is some medical professional has to be involved, really.
Yes. An MD, a DO, or a PA, physician's assistant. There's a DMV form, and the only people that can sign that are those, the doctors, the PA, and the DO.
Okay. Okay, very good. Let's see. What's the best way to approach older parents who deny any need to surrender their license?
You know what, there's a bazillion different ways, and of course it always depends on that person's experience, personality. I mean, there's so many things, but you always, one of the big with the older generation usually has a very strong sense of community, and you just talk about, you don't want to hurt anybody, you don't want to hurt anybody's animal, anybody's child, any of those kind of things. And my job is not to take away people's license. My job is, so very often I have people and I say, yeah, they're safe to drive. I can provide restrictions. It could be mile per hour. They're only able to drive at 45 miles per hour or a couple miles from their home, only during the daylight, those kind of things. I can provide some restrictions. So my goal is to keep them driving as long as they're safe to do so. But that one is just a very personal, hard question. Sometimes I have family members, when they say you need to do this driving assessment, and they process it for a little while, and they, instead of doing the assessment with me, they just retire from driving on their own, and they feel more in control doing that. They say, if I'm going to retire, I'm going to do it on my own, in my own time, versus having somebody like Jill tell me that I am no longer safe. And I make the recommendations. It's the doctors that make the final decision.
Okay. Let's see here. Do we have another question? Well, there's a question about your fee, Jill.
I let the doctor, I have two things. We talked about the clinical assessment, which looked at vision, reaction time, those kind of things. So we have the clinical assessment and the on-road assessment. If you just need the on-road assessment, it's $300. And if you need the clinical, so if somebody with dementia, post-stroke, anything like that, they would need both. And that is $500. And I know that's expensive. I got to work on some kind of a slush fund or to find some people, but I am the least expensive in the area, and I am the only one that comes to people's homes.
Okay. Well, frankly, that doesn't sound that expensive to me.
Well, and you know what, for family members to be pulled out of the decision making and for me to provide objective results, it just makes all the difference in the world, right? You just can remove the emotion and make it a more factually based decision.
Yeah, I've heard some of the horror stories about the emotional part of it.
Oh, horrible. I mean, it can end relationships.
Yes, well, and I've heard that too, that it actually has ended relationships.
Yeah. So,
between like mother and a daughter, for example. So, yes.
Oh no, it's very common. And I actually, what, if people decline, they go, I want a second opinion. There's two other companies that can do it. But as I said, none of them will come to their house. And if they're not successful from their home, as a general rule, they're not going to be successful in an unfamiliar area.
Right. Well, some of us have been through this already. So.
Yeah. Me, I stand in line, been there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, are there any further questions from anyone?
No, but Gretchen, I was excited to see another OT as well. Just so I said it before you got online.
Yeah, you OTs have to stick together. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank all of our presenters today. You all did a fabulous job, and thank you for all of you who joined us today. And
thanks for the opportunity.
We will get this recording up on our website in the next few days. We always do a little bit of editing afterwards, but it's not very much, but there's a little. And then we have to get it uploaded to our YouTube channel. So that can take a little bit of time. So that's what we'll do. And
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All right.
Everyone stay safe and warm.